Did you see that number? I'll show it again in a second because it's hard to believe. It's a 1 followed by 120 zeros. Just look at it for a moment. Imagine your accountant makes a mistake of 1 zero too many. That would already be a disaster. Your books would be completely wrong. But this isn't 1 zero. This is 120 zeros. And this number doesn't come from a typo or a mistake in a spreadsheet. It comes from standard quantum theory. It's the predicted energy of empty space, compared to what we actually observe in the universe. And somehow, this discrepancy has been accepted for decades. Hi, I'm CJ. And this is the biggest picture. The first time I saw this number, I honestly didn't believe it. Quantum theory predicts that the energy of empty space should be larger than what we observe by about 120 orders of magnitude. To give you a sense of scale, the total number of atoms in the entire observable universe is usually estimated at around 10 to the power of 80. That already sounds absurdly large, but this discrepancy is not 10 times bigger or 1,000,000 times bigger. It is roughly 10 to the power of 40, or a 1 with 40 zeros, times larger than even that. That means the mismatch between theory and observation is bigger than everything we can physically count in the universe, combined. And this isn't fringe science. This number appears in standard textbooks, is openly acknowledged, and even has a name. It's called the cosmological constant problem, sometimes more bluntly the vacuum catastrophe. What makes this so unsettling is that the calculation itself is not sloppy or exotic. Quantum field theory does something very specific. It treats empty space as filled with fields, and every field has fluctuations. Those fluctuations are counted everywhere, at every scale, all the way down to arbitrarily small lengths. Each allowed mode contributes a little bit of energy, and when you sum all of those contributions, the total explodes, not because of a mistake, but because the theory is doing exactly what it was designed to do. It is counting every mathematically allowed degree of freedom, treating each one as physically real. Once you accept that setup, the enormous number is unavoidable. At first, I assumed this had to be a mathematical issue, a mistake, a divergence, something that clever rearranging would fix. And that's exactly what people tried. Renormalization, subtractions, cut-offs, cancellations. But the strange thing is this. None of those attempts changed the scale of the result. They only hid it. The calculations themselves are stable, they are repeatable, they are internally consistent. And that's when it clicked for me. When math is this consistent and still produces a result this absurd, the problem usually isn't the math. It's what the math was instructed to count. Quantum field theory wasn't miscalculating. It was faithfully counting every mathematically allowed degree of freedom as if it were physically real. And once you accept that premise, the explosion is inevitable. That's the moment where I had to step back and check the rules. Because if I'm going to say something is wrong, it has to be wrong by the standards of science itself. And those standards are clear. When a theory disagrees with observation by a few percent, it's questioned. When it's off by an order of magnitude, it's rejected. Large discrepancies are fatal. That's how the scientific method works. But here, the discrepancy isn't small or large. It's 120 orders of magnitude. And instead of revoking the framework, it was protected. The contradiction was acknowledged, renamed, declared deep, and then surrounded by rescue attempts. Supersymmetry was hoped to cancel it. It didn't. New fields were added to relax it. They failed. Gravity was modified. Something else broke. Eventually, the explanation became anthropic. We observe this value because otherwise we wouldn't be here. None of these approaches questioned the original counting. All of them tried to save the framework. And that's when it stopped feeling like science to me. Because once a theory survives a contradiction this large, reality is no longer constraining the theory. The theory is asking reality to tolerate it. Not because people are dishonest, but because too much has been built on top of it. Careers, tools, entire research programs. Letting it fail would be expensive. But the scientific method doesn't care about sunk costs. It only cares about whether nature agrees. And here, nature was shouting. I hope you enjoyed this slightly unplugged attempt at demystifying a part of science that was carefully swept under the rug, labelled complicated, and then left there indefinitely. I know, I really should leave well enough alone, but once I see something like this, it's hard not to keep tugging at the corner. And if you're the kind of person who also enjoys pulling on loose threads, you might as well like and subscribe. It genuinely helps, and I really appreciate the support. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.